Cool. Looks like we got really good attendance today, so I'll kick things off and thank you again for coming along, for taking some time out of your day for this. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for doing that as well. Firstly, I'm really excited to be here today launching Mayday's latest product, Mayday HQ, and discussing how you can use it to bring consistency to your multi-entity chart of accounts and tracking categories, as well as a few other bits and pieces. I'm joined by Angus and Roxanne. So thank you both for your time today and for being, supporters of Mayday and our mission as well. For those who don't know me, my name's Jack Thiel. I'm the APAC commercial lead at Mayday, and our mission is to mend month end and bridge the gap, I suppose, between small business accounting software and ERPs. So today, Mayday serves more than 10,000 Xero organizations, has over 275-star reviews at a perfect 5.0 rating, which we're really proud of. And we've well and truly cemented ourselves as the go-to month-end tool for larger Xero using businesses, helping to automate intercompany recharges, automate intercompany reconciliations, manage cross-entity bank reconciliations, and more. So Mayday HQ is part of the more, and there's even more to come following that as well. So today's focus is very much on a challenge that's relevant to all of our multi-entity customers and very relevant to the experience I've had personally throughout my years as an accountant. Before we dive into how do you bring consistency to your multi-entity chart of accounts, I might leave it with Roxanne to introduce herself first, and then I'll hand over to Angus after that. So Roxanne.
Thanks, Jack. I'm Roxanne. I'm currently the Chief Financial Controller of Amalgamated Property Group. Sorry, CFO of Amalgamated Property Group. We are a property development entity here in Canberra, but we also own commercial assets. So a lot of what we do is commercial asset management, as well as residential property development. I started my career in accounting at a smaller accounting firm in Canberra, which was bought out by PwC. And then from that, I merged off with another accounting firm and spent 10 years there before moving into the in-house finance function of a construction company here in Canberra. So I've been at Amalgamated Property Group for a year and a half, and there's been a lot to do. So it's been great.
Cool. No worries. Thanks, Roxanne. And Angus.
Nice. I'm Angus Renwick. I trained in business services and tax in Australia, and I did my CA when I was in business services as well. I then had a stint in management consulting, and then a bit of government consulting as well. And then I went in-house and worked as a head of finance and a financial controller in 3 different businesses. First one was multi-site retail. Then I worked in an advertising agency as an FC. And then I worked in a Series B venture capital backed software business. And now I find myself at the Bean Counters as a system migration specialist, working with businesses like Mayday to put businesses onto best in class tech stacks and help migrate the data onto the new tech that they choose to migrate to.
Cool. No worries. Thanks. Thank you both for your time again. And as you can tell, we're in safe hands for the conversation today. And on that note, I suppose just a little agenda for the session. So firstly, I'll start with a little history of Mayday, set the scene, give you a little bit more insight into the journey that we've been on. I know I touched on a few bits and pieces before. We'll then kind of carry over to a bit of a discussion where, we'll get Roxanne and Angus to share their experience when it comes to trying to manage multi-entity chart of accounts, tracking categories, the impact of all of that, the challenge, the problem. And then we'll obviously finish off with the solution being, hopefully, Mayday HQ and where that kind of fits in to solve part of the puzzle that comes with managing all of this stuff. So I'll kick things off with the brief history. So whether you're a Mayday customer, whether you just know about us, you may have come across us at some point across this journey. So September 2021 was when our co-founders, David Tuck and James Griffin, who are both London-based, wrote the first lines of code. And that was for our probably a very different product to what they ended up with. But as is the way with startups, you build, you learn, you start with an MVP, you listen to what customers say, and then we eventually finished up our recharger product. So September 2022 was when our first customer came on board for that product, which is still there today, a lot more powerful than it probably was in September 22, but basically helps to automate your intercompany on charges, recharges, and also internal reallocations within your Xero files, or within your small business accounting files. We then won the Emerging App Partner of the Year in April 2023, which was great reward for effort. Doing something a little bit different, supporting those larger small businesses, or those who are beginning to kind of extend the life of their small business accounting platforms. And that then obviously supported us to grow a little bit further and develop our next two features. So Balancer and Brag, they were released around the time of Xerocon 2023. So maybe there's a few of you here who met the team when they first came down under in September 2023. Both of those products are still inside the suite today. Balancer helping with intercompany loan reconciliations, as well as intercompany AR and AP reconciliations, and Brag, which stands for Bank Rec across the group, helping multi-entity businesses manage those cross-entity bank transactions and where you've got costs being paid for out of different entities' bank accounts, those kinds of things. In January 2024, we then expanded to Australia. So that's when I joined the team based out of Adelaide. And, it was an obvious move for us given Australia, New Zealand, and the broader APAC region is Xero's biggest market. There's a lot of mature businesses that use Xero. So, the APAC region makes up just over half of our customer base today. And on that note, as of May 2025, we've clocked over 10,000 organizations connected to the Mayday platform, which we're really proud of. It obviously goes to show kind of the number of finance leaders who are saying, you know what, I think I don't need an ERP. I think the nature of our business is one that can last on Xero or QuickBooks or whatever the case may be, so long as I attach the relevant ecosystem partners and integrate other platforms to kind of support the unique challenges that I have. So that's where we sit right now. All of our features are really focused around the challenges of month end, the manual processes, the manual accounting entries that occur. And so we often, reach out to our customers and say, what else do you need? And managing chart of accounts, managing tracking categories, and obviously a lot of other things can still be quite a bit of a headache when you've got multiple accounting files set up. So that's kind of where Mayday HQ was born and where the conversation today is starting from. So hopefully that context is useful. Before I throw to Roxanne and Angus to kick off the discussion, I'm just going to throw up a very quick poll to see where people are at. So I'm launching that now. Basically, the question I want to ask is, how well aligned is your chart of accounts? So we've got options here. Fully aligned, you're pretty confident that everything's matching. Mostly aligned, you're pretty confident that most of your accounts are consistent. Not aligned, maybe you're aware that you've got a bit of a project on your hands to get things cleaned up and not sure. You haven't checked recently. So thank you all for coming in. That's awesome. We've got a great return on that question. So Angus and Roxanne, basically for your reference point here, most people, 70% of people are saying a few inconsistencies here and there, which is probably the case for most in that, you start with a standard chart of accounts and then little things here and there come up and slowly you end up with some differences. You've got 8% of people saying very confident that it's fully aligned, another 15% saying it's not aligned, so there's definitely inconsistency. So it sounds like everyone here kind of is very aware of the challenge and the problem. But I'll end the poll there. Thank you all for answering that. And I might now throw over, if I can, Roxanne, maybe to yourself first. When we talk about the topic of managing multi-entity chart of accounts, what is the problem? Why is this even a challenge?
Well, we've got 52 Xero files that we're managing in terms of month end, as well as just day-to-day operations. 20 of those are probably day-to-day. And as I said to you, this came at a really good time because we were just about to start the process of aligning our chart of accounts or looking at whether we needed to. And your email came through and I jumped on straight away and I could see that the chart of accounts definitely isn't aligned over those 52 entities, and they won't perfectly align, obviously. We've got 6 different business streams, but to actually dig down and ensure that they do align will make consolidations so much easier for us when exporting to Excel, or we use Sift for consolidations. And there's always a bit of a process to make sure that the chart of accounts is in alignment before analyzing any data.
Was it different to what you expected it to be? You know, having being able to kind of jump in and see how aligned or how misaligned things were. You obviously had a bit of an idea that this needed work, but how did it compare to your expectations?
Yeah, some of them were a bit all over the place in terms of you'd think that you'd have cost of sales as 300s, expenses as 400 or 500s, and they were all over the place. So it's been really good in that regard to actually see how the cost, like to define the cost of sales and the expenses on the P&L. And then things like extra spaces or the and symbol instead of the word and can just mean so much work when you're trying to reconcile, say, within Xero and you're doing lookups and things like that. Oh, sorry, within Excel and trying to do lookups. So yeah, it's been just using it so far has been very time.
And I know for anyone listening who hasn't seen HQ yet, we'll get to that. So I'll bring it up and give a bit of a demo in a second. But no, thanks, Roxanne. And Angus, I mean, from your side, you know, what from what Roxanne just said resonates, or, you know, what else can you add to that? And in terms of the impact of that challenge, you know, you obviously have worked in a number of different businesses, you work with different clients in this space. What's the reason why this matters?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start with the second question. I think the reason it matters is, like, if there are errors in your chart of accounts, and then off the back of that, your consolidation, the risk is to your internal and external reporting. So whether that's the ATO or your board, or the CFO in Roxanne's case, if you're sending her a report, you really want to have assurance over that reporting, using COGS as an example, so that at a consolidated level, that's correct and you can make business decisions.
And so what's been the approach you've taken to date to kind of keep on top of this stuff?
Yeah, so today, I think that is the beauty of Mayday, is because today in the businesses I've worked and as a consultant, there's been no one way, sort of one formal way of reviewing a chart of accounts. Everyone's got a different way of doing it. Like in Roxanne's case, you might export the 53 charts and then you might have a lead sheet, a series of formulas bringing those through to columns in the lead sheet, and then more formulas to sort of give you a check and a match. But Mayday gives you a streamlined, singular approach to reviewing your chart of accounts.
Is that what you've been doing, Roxanne? Or
so we do have a standard chart of accounts, and obviously that might be different for commercial properties versus development entities, but even those are so misaligned. Like, you'd think that having a standard there, it would be followed, but it hasn't been over the years. So to have this all in one place and actually see it in traffic light colors, it just makes that process of exporting everything to Excel and reviewing it that way, it'll just so time saving for us, so much time saved for us.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. Well, if there's nothing, I mean, if there's anything else that comes to mind, you know, that I suppose people should be thinking about if they haven't kept on top of their chart of accounts. Oh, I mean, tracking categories too, right? That's a big part of what Mayday HQ gives visibility over. You know, I don't know if there's anything different.
Sorry, the lock dates in terms of seeing that in one place. Again, it's one of those, I guess, admin tasks that you know exists, but sifting through every Xero file to find that information and make sure all of the lock dates align is a day at least, I would think, in our situation.
Yeah, when you've got 50 different entities to jump in and out of, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And on that point, I mean, appreciate we kind of present this webinar and this discussion very much focused on chart of accounts and tracking categories, knowing that HQ or Mayday HQ is aiming to do a bit more than that, but, you know, this kind of being the core pain point and problem that a lot of people deal with. So it is nice, you know, thanks for bringing up the lock dates, because I'll show in a second that Mayday HQ does show you all your different accounting files and does show you what your lock dates are, so that if you have, you know, locked down 9 out of 10 or 49 out of 50, that you can spot the one that hasn't been locked correctly, and obviously just give yourself a little bit of peace of mind. But yeah, Angus, anything else you wanted to add to kind of this area, this conversation, what you've seen happen out there as a result of, things not being aligned or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think there's like on a technical side, there's a GST risk. Like if you're using different GST codes, which Mayday HQ will quite quickly show you across the board, you can be reporting GST differently in different entities within your group, which is an
Yeah,
external
that's a big
risk.
one.
Yeah, so that's something you can quite quickly get across. But going back to the lock dates, I think that's a really good point. Like as a finance manager or a CFO, if you have that as the last item on your month end checklist, it's a great way you can go in and check on your team's progress in month end. If you've got that as the last item, you can just go into Mayday. All the lock dates are up to 30 June or 30 April, for example, and you know your team's finished month end.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a nice little tip actually, Angus. So thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that gives a good overview of the problem, the impact of the problem, and then, what has historically maybe been the process and best practice. You've also both been very kind and started the conversation around Mayday HQ for me, which is great. So I suppose on that note, for anyone who doesn't know what Mayday HQ is, the whole purpose of kind of today's webinar is to launch this new product, and it's really designed to be the control panel for group-wide consistency and data integrity. So, yes, visibility over lock dates across all your accounting files, visibility over your cash balances across across all your accounting files or bank accounts within those accounting files, visibility over your chart of accounts as kind of shown there in the screenshot, so that you can spot mismatches, missing accounts, but also create new ones. And then the same thing, but applied to tracking categories too. So what I'll do, because I know we all love a live demo, and it's one thing for me to show a screenshot, but to know that this actually exists and actually works, it's nice to see it in action. Fingers crossed we don't have a Cybertruck kind of experience where I try and do something and it doesn't work. I'm sure our engineers probably don't want me doing live demos, but at the end of the day, I think it's the best way to kind of showcase any new part of the product. So this is Mayday. If you're a Mayday user, you've seen it all before. If you're not a Mayday user yet, then this is what it looks like. We're a web-based platform. You set up Mayday, you integrate it with all your different Xero files, or your different accounting files. You come in here, you see the variety of features that we've got. So we've got our balancer product for your intercompany loans, recharger for running and processing all your intercompany recharges, and brag for your bank rec across the group. You'll now notice Mayday HQ on the right. Everyone will have access to this as a Mayday user. Just depending on your plan, you'll either have read-only access to it, or you'll have full kind of edit access. So if I jump into the dashboard first, as mentioned, this kind of gives you overview of a couple of key details across your group. So the first one is your lock dates. So as Roxanne kindly alluded to, you can come in here, you can see all your lock dates, and of course down the bottom there, our Mayday USA file is actually showing up a bit of a caution symbol, because we don't have this file locked down as at the 31st of December, which is different to our primary, which is Mayday Australasia Opco up the top there. So first things first, I don't have to jump into 6 different Xero files. I can just check it all from one place. So that saves me a bunch of time. The second thing in this column here is our cash balances. So this kind of came off the back of some feedback from our customers who said, look, it'd just be nice to not have to jump into all my different bank accounts or all my different Xero files to check where the cash is or where the cash was at the end of the month. So this is kind of a starting point for this feature, but right now you can view all your bank accounts straight in from Xero as they show at the end of the last month. So we're obviously going to look to add more to this dashboard over the course of time. We're taking every feature request we get and adding it into the backlog, because I think there's going to be a lot of things that people want from this. But for now, a couple of key things and hopefully a couple of really easy wins to get on the board there as well. Anything else, Roxanne or Angus, that you wanted to kind of add to that, from a dashboard perspective, or have I kind of covered it okay?
No, I don't have anything to add. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. Easy. So then jumping across to the chart of accounts. So this tool here hopefully is a nice one for you all. So basically the way that this works is the first time that you come into Mayday HQ, you won't see this screen. You'll just see a list of all your entity names. We'll ask you to choose one of those to be set as the primary. In this case, you can see that that little star there tells me that my Mayday Australasia OpCo entity is flagged as the primary. You don't need to stress about this because you can change this very easily. I can toggle this across and say I'd like my holdings entity to be the primary, and then I can change it back to my OpCo entity anytime. I understand that within a group like Roxanne's, you've got 50 different entities, but you might have a few different groups within those 50 that should have alignment. So you can obviously toggle between and set different primaries as you kind of work your way through cleaning things up. From here, you can obviously see that we've got our asset accounts, we've got our equity, we've got our expenses, we've got our revenue, and we've got our liability codes, as well as any unmatched accounts at the bottom. This screen just gives you a nice kind of overview, how consistent things are. So if everything's green, then you're great. If you've got green and yellow, then you've got a couple of mismatches. And if you've got green, yellow, and red, it means you've got some missing accounts too. So if I go to my expense section here, I can quickly see that we've got a whole bunch of green, which is fantastic. We've got a yellow account here for advertising, and that's because the account number is the same, which is 400, but the name of the account is different. We've got advertising and marketing on one side, and we've got advertising on the other. So it just helps us to highlight where we've got those inconsistencies, either at an account code basis or an account name basis. You can also scroll across and see over here on the right-hand side, inside our Mayday USA file, we're actually missing accounts for bank fees and cleaning altogether. So number one, it just gives you nice visibility over all of your accounts in one place. You can see what's matching, what's not, and what's missing. But we wanted to go a little bit further than that. We wanted to make it nice and easy to update these things too. So you can click on any of these red accounts and we'll basically draft up to create these. You just click the Save Accounts button in the bottom left corner here, and we'll then create those two accounts inside your Mayday USA file for you. You can obviously set your tax rates as needed too. We understand each file or each business may have different tax statuses, so that's fine as well. You can also, of course, update accounts. So if I've got my 400- advertising account here, which let me just show you this, we've got our account 400 advertising inside my zero file, Mayday Australasia Holdings. So I can click on this and I can say I would like that to be updated to advertising and marketing to align with my central. I click Save Accounts. Mayday updates that. You can see it's now showing it's green. And if I come back into my chart of accounts and refresh, I just scroll down and you can see there that change has pushed straight through. So nice and easy to use. You've also got the ability up the top here to create brand new accounts. So I can click Create New Account, write in an account code, 623, testing, for example. I can choose the type of account, expense, obviously in this case, and then I can scroll across and edit the tax rates across all my different entities before I go ahead and save those accounts. And Mayday will then push those accounts into all 6 of your different zero files. Okay. So nice and easy to use, very powerful tool, hopefully a massive time saver for anyone out there who was dreading their chart of account alignment project. But yeah, anything else, Roxanne, Angus, that you wanted to kind of comment on from a chart of accounts? So I know you've both already kind of mentioned it, but if there was anything else?
No, just the use of the traffic light reporting in itself is really helpful. I guess you can get to a point where you've just got the green and yellow and you're okay with that. You don't want to see any red there, but yeah, it's using it has been very easy, which is great. So
yeah. Did you find yourself toggling across different entities as the primary?
yes, yeah. So I did start with sort of our main entity and then noticed that it didn't have a lot of the cost of sales accounts in it. So then toggled across to the development entities and was able to work through those, and then the commercial entities as well. So yeah, it was really useful. At first I'd forgotten about that little star, and so I was sort of freaking out that it all had to look exactly the same, but then realized that you could toggle across, and
perfect.
That's great. Yeah.
Cool. Angus, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, just on my end, I've had use for it already with a client that's got a management fee across their group, and we wanted to add the management fee code to all the entities that weren't the service entity, and we could just do that in one hit.
Yeah, nice. As a little, little win, maybe for one account, it would have only taken 5-10 minutes to set it up. But hey, if you get 5-10 minutes back, that's always nice. So awesome. Thank you both. And then finally, the tracking categories component of this, we've just talked it through at a chart of accounts level, but basically the same logic applies here. If you have a desire to align your tracking categories across your entities, like in this case, we have a departments tracking category that we use, engineering, finance, and marketing, perfectly aligned across all our different entities, which is fantastic. If I want to add a new option for HR, I can come in here and create that option, type in HR, it'll create it across the group, and I just click save to push that through to the relevant Xero files. Super easy to do. Obviously, for something like entity, you will inevitably have, a red option probably, or potentially, across your group, kind of like a matrix where I'm not going to be assigning something to myself. I'm going to be assigning something to all my other entities. So in some cases you may be perfectly comfortable with a red option down here, but nice, easy to use tool, very similar to the chart of accounts functionality. It's just that it applies to your tracking categories instead. So yeah, I hope that has given everybody good oversight as to where it fits in and where we're going with it. I mean, at the end of the day, I see this as a starting point for Mayday HQ, because I think the nature of any HQ or control panel is that there's always going to be more visibility that you'd like to see. I know that we're discussing the idea, and I don't want to hold us accountable to this because it's certainly something that we're just exploring at the moment. There will be no doubt challenges around it, which is the idea of contacts within the HQ world too, because I know that managing contacts across a whole bunch of different accounting files can be a challenge too. So it's something we're looking at. I can't guarantee anything right now, but I know we're exploring that as well. So I can see that this feature will simply grow over the course of time as new requests come in. So a quick summary of that. So you can view your lock dates in one place, easily spot and fix your chart of accounts and tracking category mismatches, and ensure good data integrity, which is hopefully why we're all here today. For anyone who isn't currently a Mayday user, I just want to kind of let everybody know that there is a special launch offer available. So basically until, I don't know why it says until June 31st, the month will only go to the 30th. So I promise you it won't go to the 31st. June 30th is when the discount will end. Just enter the code launch25 at checkout. If you're signing up this month, you can get 25% off any of our plans. If you're on a monthly plan, that would apply for the first 6 months. If you go with an annual plan, that will apply for the entire first year. So yeah, that's it from my side. I'm now very much happy to open it up to Q&A. So if anyone has any questions whatsoever, please throw them our way. I've got a couple that have popped up here. This might be a request, Daniel, but I appreciate the suggestion. It'd help if you could hide some of the companies that you're not trying to align. Great suggestion. I'll share that one with the team. Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate that. Does it also let you change and set lock dates? Good question, Emma. I actually asked our engineers about this yesterday, and unfortunately it's not possible. So we would obviously be happy to do it. It's just a limitation of the API. So we can't actually push a lock date into Xero for you. We'll try and make it as easy as possible by showing you where your inconsistencies are. There's a big blue Xero icon on the right-hand side of the dashboard too, so you can click straight into the relevant Xero file, but you will still have to go in and update that lock date yourself. Cool. No worries, Emma. All good. Any other questions, throw them our way. But if there is nothing else, I'll just throw up a very quick poll for those of you who are still here. If you aren't a Mayday user, this is primarily who this one's for. But if you'd like to see a full demonstration of the product, let me know. I can touch base. But I understand there's probably a bunch of people here who are already using Mayday, which is good to see. Cool. Yes, there will be a recording of the session available and shared with everyone who registered. So thank you for that question. We have some retired accounts that we don't use anymore. How can we clean those up in Mayday? Good question. So in terms of removing existing accounts, that's not something that's kind of come up on my list of questions so far, but you can click on an account inside of Mayday, even a green matched account, and delete it. So if you need to, you can delete accounts as well. I don't know, is that something that you've had to do at all, Roxanne, as part of your cleanup?
No, well, I was using zero, sort of Mayday and Zero side by
Yep.
side, and was able to do it that way, because sometimes you try to delete accounts and you can't actually do it. It gives you the option to archive. So I don't
Yep.
know how that would work with Mayday, but no, I didn't do the deleting.
No, that's right. That's right. I'm just having a look inside here. So I'll just share my screen just so you can fully see what I'm playing around with. So within here, hopefully you can all see that. Basically, you can click on any of your accounts. So if I wanted to look at this one here, I can click the pen icon, I can change the number, change the name, cancel the action, but I can't delete that account. It's really just a canceling of the action. It's not a delete this account option. So I'll flag that with the team as something that we might want to look at adding in future, but for now, it's just going to be aligning mismatches and creating missing accounts. But good question. Is there an ability to turn off red accounts, basically saying, hey, we're happy with these? I assume that's oh yeah. Is there a way to mark that you've reviewed certain accounts and are happy with the discrepancy? Not at the moment, but I like the idea. So I'll share that one with the team as well. Thanks, Kaylee. Aaron, good to see you here. Is there an ability to turn off red accounts and companies in the respective chart accounts and tracking category modules to save you having to review these every month end? So not at the moment is the answer to that. So I think with all of this stuff, we wanted to release a product that would be valuable, and hopefully this is. But I can see some of these questions are great suggestions for us to implement moving forward. The ability to basically filter out certain entities and say, look, these 5 chart of accounts will never ever look anything like the others. I kind of want to ignore them so that I've got this nice green dashboard. I appreciate that. At the moment, not possible, but good question and good suggestion. So in terms of the subscription, so someone's asked, what subscription does this kind of fall under? How does that work? So if you're on our passive plan, then basically you get access to view it. And so you can spot where you've got mismatches, you can spot where you've got missing accounts. But if you would like to be able to have the full edit access, create new accounts, fix those mismatches, then you just need to be on the active plan. So if you need to change your plan, you can go ahead, go to settings, billing, and have a look at the cost and upgrade from there. Cool. Yeah, so another question there, can you set up smaller groups within the broader group? I think that's come up a couple of times, so I'll share that one with the team. Good question. Could Mayday link to the organization's financial settings page to quickly update the lock dates? Potentially, good suggestion, Sean. I can share that one with the team as well as kind of maybe a little workaround. Thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. And I recall when using Mayday's chart of account alignment that the GL accounts in some entities were coming up with coming up in red upon investigation. The GL accounts actually did exist in the entity, but it had been archived. Okay, good shout there. So potentially, if you do have an account, but it is archived, it's not going to show up, which I think is probably the way that it's been designed. But let me know if there's a problem with that one. Thanks, and Catherine. No bank accounts included in there. Yeah, I think this is just going to bring up where you've got an account code. So I know that within Xero, you can have bank accounts that don't have codes assigned to them. Does that sound correct, Roxanne and Angus? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have codes associated with them.
Yep. Cool. No worries. And then could this lead to GL reconciliations for intercompany internal eliminations for consolidation? So I think it's probably, good question, Emma. I mean, we are going to definitely draw the line at reporting and consolidation. We aren't going to go down that road within our product suite. So just so you're aware of that, we think there's some really good products in market, like Roxanne said, using Sift. Angus, I'm sure there's a few that you guys work with and recommend on a regular basis. We just feel like there's enough players in that space. It's a whole nother world of expertise. And I think when you lose focus as a startup, you end up not actually building good functionality anymore. So we want to remain really focused on month end and the accounting processes that are there. Not to say that there's not more we can do to make consolidations easier or more internal eliminations or consolidation challenges. So there may be more that we can do there, Emma, but for now, just keep that in mind, I suppose. Cool.
Yeah, I was just
Lots of
going to add to
questions,
that.
which is great. Go for it.
I was just going to add to that, Jack. if anyone on this call is a business that's currently consolidating in Excel and you're thinking about moving to software in future, I think a really good first step would be using Mayday HQ, getting that chart aligned and cleaned, and then going into software. It'll make your mapping exercise a lot easier and then your consolidation more accurate.
Cool. Yeah, no, absolutely good suggestion. All right. I think we're through. Great questions. That's the most questions I've ever been asked as part of a webinar. So hopefully that means it was valuable and engaging. And yeah, please, most people on the call who voted said that they're already using Mayday. So that's great. You can jump in. You can start using it and having a play around, and let me know or let us know if you've got any further suggestions or recommendations. But I'll share the ones that came through with the team. Roxanne, Angus, thank you both so much for your time, for sharing your thoughts, perspectives, and how you've been using Mayday to date. Yeah, I hope to speak with you again soon, and thank you all to everyone who came along. Appreciate it.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Jack.
No worries. Okay, pleasure. See ya.
Thanks, Jack.
See ya.
Thanks.